Guys, so today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm gonna be doing a This Is Me challenge. I guess I've seen this a couple places on YouTube. Not many major YouTubers have done it, but I've seen a lot of smaller YouTubers with like 400,000 under do it. And now I'm gonna be doing it. It's the This Is Me challenge. And basically I'm gonna sit down for 5 minutes, or I'm just gonna do 5 minutes, and talk about who I am and what has happened in my past. And there's gonna be no editing. There's gonna be no fancy music in the background. Nothing fancy with this. It's just gonna be a straight up upload of just no uncut anything. And that's why it's not in the most best setup, and that's why everything is kind of messy, and that's why my bed is not looking the best, because I didn't care about impressing anyone in this video. I just want to sit down and talk to my fans or the people that watch my videos. So without further ado, I'm just gonna get right into it, and I'm not editing this, I'm not adding any music or anything. It's just gonna be a straight up commentary. I guess it's not a commentary, it's just me talking. I don't even know what it's called. So I need to start off from the very beginning. I grew up living on a farm. We had a pretty good life. It was peaceful all the time. Everything was great. I really liked it out there. And then I lived out on that farm. It wasn't really a farm. It was like out in the country, and we had, like, there were animals around, just stuff like that. And I lived out there until I was 8, and we moved into that. I moved in the house when I was 3, so 6 or 7. I don't feel like doing math. Like 6 or 7 years. It was like 6, 7, 8 years. And no, we moved out of the house when I was 9, so it was like, I'm getting too far. So we moved out of that house when I was 8 or 9, and then because my parents got divorced, and that really hurt me a lot. Then we started moving around to a ton of places. Like, we went everywhere. Me and my 2 brothers and my dad. He moved into a small apartment of 2 rooms, and my mom stayed in the house for a little bit until she finally moved out into a small white house in the town right next to us, when we lived in the country. And things started getting really bumpy for a while, like really bumpy. I fell into a deep dark depression, and that's when the whole trouble with everything started with me. I have not told anyone this, really, so me telling you guys or the people that watch my videos is really hard for me to do. I felt like the divorce was my fault. It wasn't, but I felt like it was, and it made me fall into this deep dark anxiety. It was like they called it, like, for my age, I had terrible anxiety, and it was higher than any adult that they've ever seen before. And it would make me have these panic attacks, and I would just get like an overwhelm of guilt about something I've done in my past before. Like a deep, dark guilt that if I didn't tell someone, or like tell my dad or my mom what I did, then I felt like I was gonna die or melt from all the guilt that was trapped up inside of me. And it got to the point where I became very suicidal, and I didn't attempt to take my life at all, but I did walk down the stairs and walk into the kitchen and just sit there right before all the knives, and I was like, should I just do it? Should I just take that knife and slit my wrist? What's the point of even living anymore if I'm just gonna be covered in guilt all the time? So, and then one day, this is about 6 months after my parents' divorce, me and my dad and my 2 brothers were all in church, and this was like my 4th time being in like the adult church, because I grew up Wesleyan and I still am. So there was like a kids church, and then there was like an adult church, and I went to, and this is my second or third time in the adult church, because I just turned, I guess it would have been 10, and I guess after you're 10 you can go into the adult church. So I went into the adult church, and I had an attack right then and there, and these attacks happened a lot, but this is probably the worst place for it to happen. And I started like screaming, and I just could not take it anymore. And I went out there and I told my dad something that was so dumb, but it was just the guilt that got built up inside of me that would kill me. And then my mom was working at the time, so my dad called my mom and said, we're taking him into the behavioral hospital that was in our area at the time, and it still is. But so we went to my mom, who was at work, and she came outside, and she was she hugged me and everything was fine. And then I got another attack, and another one, and another one, and another one, and they just kept on coming. And that was when my dad was like, all right, that's it, we're taking him right now, because we didn't plan on me going then. We planned on me going like a while later. So my dad ended up taking me, and I was there for about a week and a half, and that's kind of when things started to get better. And my grandparents would come visit me, my uncles, my cousins, and like everyone would come visit me. And I was only like 10 or 11 at the time. I was in 6th grade, so maybe I was 12. Maybe it wasn't 6 months. I don't know. I was 10 or 12, somewhere between 10 and 12, and I couldn't handle it all at once, and that made me even more depressed, more suicidal. Even when I was still in the hospital getting help, I was gone for about a week and a half of school. And when I finally came back, everyone asked me where I was, and I told them I was sick. And I didn't lie, but I didn't tell the truth either. But my dad didn't want me telling people because he didn't want me thinking like I had to. So he didn't want me to tell people like the actual truth, and I didn't want to tell people either, because it just made me feel it made me feel embarrassed, because that I had to go somewhere to get help because I couldn't handle my life anymore. And at such a young age and having that type of anxiety, it's not easy to do. But then again, I did need a lot of help. And then as the years started going on, it started getting better and better. And then I started getting a better group of friends. I started hanging out with the right people. I started hanging out with people that made me feel good. I started hanging out with people that wanted to be my friends and not my friends for pity, because I grew up having no friends at all. I didn't get along with guys, girls, anyone. I'm actually gonna run on a film here real quick, guys. So I actually lied with all the editing stuff. I'm gonna have to edit this part out, but or I'm gonna have to edit a new part in. But I have to go and delete stuff on my camera. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. I have a lot more time now. So as I was saying, when I go into the same school I went to when I first started in preschool, so I've been there my entire life. And growing up there, I had no friends. Up until about 5th grade, I had no friends. Absolutely no friends. I would sit at lunch alone. Actually, no, I had one best friend in 1st grade, but he actually ended up moving away. But after 1st grade, 1st to 5th grade, I had no friends. I would sit alone at lunch until one day I kind of met my friend Noah. We weren't really best friends, but we were like friends that like, we didn't like hang out like outside of school or anything, but we would like talk at lunch, and we would like do stuff together like during recess and just stuff like that. So I guess I had one kind of good friend, and we hung out and we did all this kind of stuff during school. But then outside of school, I would go home and I would get depressed because I would hear like these things that like the kids in my grade went out and their parents did this for them, and they went to do this, and they had all these people come, and it would make me feel bad. And then I would hear like people that had birthday parties, and then they would invite all these people, and then my birthday would come around, and I would invite all my classmates, and then I found out that they were talking bad about me behind my back, saying that it was a boring party and that they wished that they only came because their parents forced them to come, and all this other kind of stuff. And that killed me on the inside, and that made me just feel more and more depressed as time went on. So and then 5th grade is kind of where all that stuff started happening, like the anxiety and the hospital and all this other kind of stuff. So now after all that happened, now we're in middle school. And 7th and 8th grade is our middle school. We don't do 6th grade. So 7th and 8th grade is our middle school. And that's when things started getting a lot better. 7th grade was hard for me because it was my first year of middle school. I didn't have very many friends the way it was. I hung out with a lot of girls, like one of my cousins, but like we were cousins, but we were more friends than we were cousins. and then I hung out with some other girls and all this other kind of stuff, and I guess Noah was my really only friend at that time, like that was a guy, and we would hang out and we would have fun, we would do all this kind of stuff, and then I started hanging out with a lot those friends and those girls outside of school, and then so the reason the 7th grade was so hard for me is because of how it started out. It started out with me still having some attacks here and there, and I'll be like in class one day, and then all of a sudden like an attack would just spring, like during first hour it would just spring just like that, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of class. So I'd have to like sneak my phone out, text my dad, tell him what's going on, or my mom I guess, and then tell him what's going on, tell him that I'm having an attack in the middle of school and I'm freaking out. And then they'd be like, all right, it's okay, just ask the teacher to go to the bathroom, calm down. And I'd be like, all right, so I did that. And then as the year went on, the attacks started getting less and less and less until I was down to about 1 a month. And then I was down to about 1 every 3 months. And then I was down to about 1 every 6 months. And then pretty soon it got down to I only had 1 every 6 months. And now 8th grade comes along. So 7th grade, 7th grade ended out very well. Nothing bad happened after the couple attacks I had during that year. Nothing major happened that I just like freaked out about. And then 8th grade year comes around and the attacks were pretty much gone, but they were still there. But I didn't worry about them anymore. I didn't have like these worry bugs, is what my therapist and my doctor told me. So everything was going good, and then nothing major started happening in 8th grade. Everything kind of died down with me. I started getting a better group of friends, and remember that this was only last year. I guess 2 years ago now, because now I'm a sophomore. But everything started to come into play. And then, so 8th grade year ended out great. I had A's and B's the entire year. I don't think I ever once got a C that year. Everything was going great. And then at the end of the year, I met the friends that I have now, and our school is very small, so I knew these kids my entire life. I just never talked to them until about the end of the year. Like the last 2 months of school, I started talking to them, and now we're into freshman year, which is this year, and everything was perfect this year. Nothing went wrong at all, and everything was so good that it seemed too good for me. Like, I found my perfect friends. I found who I was in this world. I found why I'm here. I started YouTube again. I guess I didn't start last year, but I really wanted to do it this year. And freshman year was probably one of my favorite years because I met the friends I have now, and those will be my lifelong friends. And everything is just gonna be so great from here on out. And I really hope things don't go back up like they used to. 8th grade year, I had like a little spike where they kind of went back up for a couple weeks, and I had like 3 attacks in 2 weeks, and it was a bad time at that time, and I thought my life was gonna go back downhill again, but it didn't. So, and now freshman year, or I guess sophomore year is upon us, and I can't wait for sophomore year. I hope a lot more happens. I'm going to a lot more camps during the summer. I'm spending time with my friends more. I talk to a lot more people, and I'm not shy anymore like before. I used to be like a shy little kid that wouldn't talk to anyone or do anything with anyone, and that's kind of like why I was so insecure about myself. And everything is kind of like falling into place, and I can see where I'm going in life, and that's pretty much who I am. If you guys have any questions or want to talk to me, all my links are in the description, as well as you can just leave me a comment down below. I hope you guys did enjoy this, and if you did, don't forget to leave me a comment down below. And I'm not going to do my regular outro because this is kind of more of a serious video. So, yeah guys, peace.